The former Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi has died at the age of 86. Back in April, we learned he had been earlier diagnosed with a form of chronic leukemia. This in addition to a number of other health concerns in recent years, including COVID and long COVID. The flamboyant media mogul led 3 governments. He was Italy's longest-serving post-war prime minister, despite sex scandals and allegations of corruption. In Rome this morning, Megan Williams live with us on the breaking news. Megan, what details do we have so far today?
Well, Heather, this is really the end of an era for Italy. Silvio Berlusconi, as you say, was 86 years old. He had suffered from heart trouble. He'd been in and out of the hospital for the past year or so. So this wasn't unexpected, but it's still kind of a shock here. He's was a political figure since the mid-1990s when he became prime minister for the first time. But before then, he was well known as, a self-made billionaire. He controlled all of the private television stations in Italy, and that became, of course, a conflict of interest when he became prime minister. He owned a major soccer club, AC Milan. He owned publishing houses. He was in construction. So he was a hugely wealthy man who went into politics, many people say, to protect himself from his legal troubles, accusations of corruption, of bribing judges, of tax corruption. He was found guilty of one of those charges later on. A lot of those charges sort of didn't go through the courts fast enough, so ended up kind of going away. But he really defined an era. And it was interesting this morning, my daughter said, I can't believe he's dead. Like, I just can't imagine Italy without this man who's been here, for almost 30 years.
Absolutely right. He was so, such a recognizable figure internationally. Within the country, I mean, you've already started to talk about this a little bit, Megan, but he had both admirers and detractors and critics. And how will both be remembering him, do you think?
Well, you're absolutely right. He did have a lot of admirers. I mean, he was prime minister 4 times, and I think a lot of Italians felt like this was someone who could sort of break the traditional division between the left and right in Italy. I mean, he really wasn't ideologically on any side. He hated the left because he said they launched a witch hunt against him. I mean, this is all sort of pre-Trump stuff, and when everybody was laughing about Italy and saying how only in a country as crazy as Italy could someone like Silvio Berlusconi become the leader. And then, of course, we've seen it in many other countries, the most notable case, the United States now. But a lot of Italians were deeply disturbed by him. He had, sex scandals. He was accused, although recently acquitted, of having sex, paying for sex with a minor, those infamous Bunga Bunga parties. He was a major disruptor, and he was a power broker to the end. I mean, his Forza Italia, the right-wing party, was extremely diminished after Berlusconi was kicked out of politics in 2011 because of the European finance crisis. But to the end, he was part of the ruling coalition that now Giorgia Meloni leads. So to the very end, he heavily influenced Italian politics.